Joining us now on the Michigan Megacast is Michael Hensley. He is the Director of Marketing and Sales at the Great Lakes Bay Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau. Michael, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk about what's going on right here in pure Michigan's Great Lakes Bay region.
So tell us first about the Great Lakes Bay region. For those that may not be familiar with that terminology, where does that area serve?
Yeah, so the Great Lakes Bay region is a 3-county region, and if you get your wonderful Michigan map up, it's right here where your thumb meets your hand. It covers Saginaw Bay and Midland counties, and there are 6 premier tourism cities within those counties: Midland, Bay City, Saginaw, Frankenmuth, Birch Run, and Chesaning.
So it's a little bit of mid-Michigan and a little bit of the Lake Huron area, kind of encompassing that middle lower peninsula area on the east side and all the great things that happen there throughout the year as well. Michael, there's so many great activities to do around any of the Great Lakes in the state of Michigan, but I think that's one area of the state that kind of does get overlooked. If people are going to the Great Lakes, they're either going traditionally up north, or they're going to the west side of the state to visit Lake Michigan and a lot of those small towns and beach towns over there. But there's a lot of great things that can be done in the Great Lakes Bay area, in the mid-Michigan area as well, especially during these summer months.
Absolutely. Summer is a perfect time to visit pure Michigan's Great Lakes Bay region. Whether you're a fisherman, a hiker, a biker, or a kayaker, we have so many trails, rivers, watersheds. We have access to the Saginaw Bay, which is world renowned for walleye fishing. So if you're a fisherman, you've got to get up here and check it out. If you are somebody who likes museums and culture, we have a lot of that in some of our cities. And it's just an awesome place to slow down, relax, connect, and regrow those relationships with your loved ones.
And it's great all throughout the year, too, because you really get a great sense of Michigan winter when you're there in the colder months of the year. In the fall, you get that Michigan fall sense of you can still do a lot of those activities, like you said, like the fishing, especially that people love to do in mid-Michigan. And it's a great area for that, even in the fall, as we get out of the dog days of summer that we're in right now.
Well, the fall fishing is spectacular here, especially if you are into walleye fishing. The Saginaw River does not disappoint. And, on our podcast, we talk with people like Mark Martin and Mike Avery. They give the hottest fishing tips in that time frame that they're on. I was just talking with somebody. Fall fishing is almost right in the beginning of the season. So getting onto the Saginaw River, doing some jigging for some walleye, catfish, all sorts of Michigan fish that you are familiar with catching inland lakes out in Lake St. Clair or Lake Michigan. We've got them right here in the Great Lakes Bay region and the Saginaw Bay.
This time of the year is one of the favorite times of the year for people to go out and explore their local farmers market. And there's so many great farmers market or outdoor market activities to do in the state of Michigan, and that includes in the Great Lakes Bay region. There's plenty of them all throughout that region, the mid-Michigan area, in the Lake Huron bordering area as well. Can you tell us about some of those kinds of activities and the variety that is there between these many different markets?
Well, the Great Lakes Bay region has some of the richest soil in the state. There, things like sugar beets, soybean, corn, a lot of the stuff you would see around the state, it grows really well here. Therefore, we've got a lot of really fresh products at some of our farmers markets, as well as some of those traditional fall activities like apple orchards and cider mills and pumpkin patches and things like that. As you're moving up into the fall season, getting ready for some of that fall travel and that fall fun, those are premier spots like Johnson's Pumpkin Patch, Bain's Apple Farm. There's so many, I can't even list them all. We would be here for an hour.
GoGreat.com for more information on a number of activities in mid-Michigan and the Great Lakes Bay region as well, from people such as Michael Hensley joining us on the Michigan Megacast from the Great Lakes Bay Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau on the program today. Again, GoGreat.com is their website for more information, GoGreat.com. And in terms of activities throughout the year, Michael, what are some of your favorites to do spreading out throughout the full calendar to make way to the Great Lakes Bay region for activities, for events, and so on?
Oh gosh, I can't even pinpoint, but I'm a big outdoorsman, so a lot of hiking and biking trails, things like that. But also some of the festivals in the area are second to none. We've got some really cool ones coming up this for the fall, like AutoFest and Oktoberfest in Frankenmuth, the African Cultural Festival this weekend in Saginaw. leads up to a great festival season, but there are festivals all year round. There's Snowfest in the wintertime. In the spring, there's the the fall, there's the Eat Great Food Festival. There's the River Days in Midland. I mean, there are so many festivals. You're not going to have a weekend where there aren't one right here in the Great Lakes Bay region. Makes a great stop on that way up north.
Yeah, it is, and you got so many different activities to go and explore. So many different really interesting towns to explore as well. You mentioned Frankenmuth as being one of those areas that you can really get a great sense of culture in the state of Michigan from one of our great communities there in mid Michigan. But also there's so many other cities and small towns too that you can get a really great feel for pure Michigan in the Great Lakes Bay region. Can you tell us about some of the activities in the cities themselves, in Flint, in Saginaw? You mentioned for a bit there in Frankenmuth and other areas in the Great Lakes Bay region that people may not be thinking about when they're thinking about fun things to do on their weekend or in their Michigan travel plans.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't speak to Flint because that's not in the area that we cover.
Okay.
But in Saginaw, there are so many different cultural hubs, like the Japanese Cultural Center. You can go and witness a cultural or a typical tea ceremony and do a tour of the Japanese Cultural Center there, as well as the Castle Museum. It's a French chateau shaped building. It's a beautiful building with a lot of rich history, Saginaw County. Bay City is a lumber town, so there's a lot of history there as well. If you drive down Center Avenue, you'll see some of those old lumber baron type mansions, and it's just a really, really cool way to take in some nostalgic time frames that Michigan went through. Heading over into Midland, Michigan, there are a lot of ways that Midland has taken and innovated how to experience nature. For instance, Dow Gardens has a 1/4 mile long canopy walk at the Whiting Forest portion of the Dow Gardens campus. That's something you can't miss. It's a great way to get out, get back into nature, and you're up in the treetops. It's just a really cool experience. Pair that with the Alden B. Dow Museum. So much going on in Midland, in Bay City, in Saginaw. Birch Run, home to the Birch Run outlets. Who hasn't stopped there if you've gone up I-75 and just in time for some school shopping? So they've got all sorts of name brands, really, really great deals, and they're just located right off I-75 in beautiful Birch Run. Chesaning is a quaint little town that has so much to offer, especially if you love small town America. There, the Stonehouse Inn is a great place to stay. There's a crop and quilt quilting place, and so much more in that little small town of Chesaning. You've got to get up to the Great Lakes Bay region and check this stuff out for yourself.
More information can be found on their social media across many different platforms at Go Great Lakes Bay. That's Go Great Lakes Bay on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Pinterest, on YouTube. However, it is Great Lakes Bay CVB. But you can find all that information also linked on their website, gogreat.com. That's gogreat.com for more information. We're joined by Michael Hensley from the Great Lakes Bay Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau on the Michigan Megacast. And again, the website is gogreat.com. In terms of activities that people maybe aren't thinking about when they think about the Great Lakes Bay region or when they think about mid-Michigan, what are some of those hidden gems in terms of activities or events that people can experience in this region that maybe they're not thinking about all the time?
Oh my gosh, hidden gems. Well, there's so many of them, but I'll start with some of the nightlife available in downtown Bay City. Downtown Bay City has so many different bars, restaurants, entertainment venues. If you're coming through Bay City area, make sure you stop, you experience some nightlife, you have a good time, stay overnight in one of our many wonderful hotels right there in Bay City or the adjacent areas, and the nightlife there is really second to none. An entire walkable city that is so ready to serve you, and we just look forward to having so many visitors up into the Bay City area.
Michael, you mentioned earlier the Dow Gardens in Midland. They have a really interesting event coming up. Not many people like bugs, but it's interesting to look at some of the many different creatures that are considered bugs. They have their big bugs exhibit coming up at the Dow Gardens. Tell us about that and what people can expect.
Well, it's basically giant sculptures of different kind of bugs and insects, all sorts of really cool art pieces that resemble some pretty big bugs throughout the Dow Gardens campus. If anybody's seen Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, it'll take you right back to that movie. It's just a really, really cool concept. Especially little kids love it. It's just a really great way to get people back into that perceived sense of being one with those insects in the nature, and it's just a really cool way to see some really cool art pieces, and it's available now right at Dow Gardens.
More information can be found gogreat.com. Gogreat.com is the website for the Great Lakes Bay Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau, whose Michael Hensley joins us on the Michigan Megacast. And again, their social media, pretty much every platform is Go Great Lakes Bay. Go Great Lakes Bay on almost all social media, except for YouTube, where it's Great Lakes Bay CVB, and you can keep up to date on everything that's happening in a variety of these cities and towns by visiting gogreat.com. That's gogreat.com for more information. And there's so many really interesting activities too, kind of extensive activities that can happen on the water as we're still trying to savor the last few days of summer and as we savor the warmer parts of fall. What are some activities people should be getting to mid-Michigan and the Great Lakes Bay for in the coming days and the weeks to experience before we get into those colder months of the year?
Well, this is the perfect time in the year to get out on one of our river systems and out into the bay. The warmer temperatures all summer have warmed the water up. We're starting to decrease the amount of humidity that's in the air, so it's a great time to get out on the water and experience some of that stuff. You can do that many different ways. You can bring your kayaks or rent a kayak. Hit one of our river systems. You can go on one of the boat cruises that port out of Bay City. That's on the Appledore or on the Princess Winona with Bay City Boat Lines. You can take a really quaint little cruise on the Cass River with the Bavarian Belle, and so much more. There's really a lot of ways to get out on the water, experience some of that fresh water that we love here in Michigan so much, and get out onto the Saginaw Bay. And like I said, the fishing here in the Saginaw Bay is second to none. It's world renowned for walleye. So if you want to experience, don't really have a vessel to get out on the water, don't worry. There's a ton of charter captains in the area that are more than happy to take you out and let you experience some of that Saginaw Bay walleye fishing first class.
GoGreat.com is the website for all these different activities and different events going on in the Great Lakes Bay region, courtesy of the Great Lakes Bay Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. While you're experiencing these different activities and fun events and more in the Great Lakes Bay region, go ahead and share the moment on social media, hashtag #GoGreatLakesBay. We're joined by Michael Hensley from the Great Lakes Bay Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau. Michael, a couple more minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that we haven't discussed yet that would be interesting for our audience to keep in mind as they head to your region of Michigan, or other things to be keeping in mind in terms of fun events coming up later on in the year?
Well, I mean, there's so many events and so many activities and attractions to do in the area. If you want to learn more about who runs these attractions, how they got started, we've got a podcast. It's called the Great Lakes Bay Podcast. There we talk with all sorts of attraction owners, lodging facility owners, restaurant owners. Just talk to them why they love the Great Lakes Bay region, how they got their businesses started, and gives you a chance to learn a little more about what is going on in the region and who's running this stuff. There, we also talk about festivals, and who doesn't love a good festival? The upcoming festivals that I'm so excited for, Tyler. Again, I mentioned that the African Cultural Festival is this weekend. It's the longest running African Cultural Festival. You have got to check it out. There's so many really great pieces of cultural history, as well as just everybody congregating and having a great time celebrating some of this African culture that is right prominent here in the Great Lakes Bay region. Although, if you would like to experience some fall weather, don't worry. AutoFest in Frankenmuth is a great festival to experience some of those cooler, crisper temperatures. Get out, have a good time, see some awesome old classic cars. If you are loving a nice little block party, come on the Friday night of that festival there. They shut down Main Street. Everybody parks in the cars or on the street and has a really great time. There's competitions throughout the weekend. And really awesome spots to get in and immerse yourself in some of that Frankenmuth culture. And then there's just so much going on. If you are interested in slowing down, taking a minute and just getting to know the surroundings around you, we have so many great trails to do that. And all that stuff can be found at gogreat.com. That's GOGREAT.com.
Michael, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us and telling us all the great things we can do in the Great Lakes Bay Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau area up there in the Great Lakes Bay.
Thank you so much for having me. Look forward to talking to you again and look forward to seeing everybody in Pure Michigan's Great Lakes Bay region.